Hello, this is Mrs. Huffcutt from the Morrison and Mary Wiley Library here in Elmwood, and I have another Caldecott book to share with you. This one is entitled White Snow, Bright Snow, and it was written by Alvin Trusselt and illustrated by Roger DeVoyson. This was the Caldecott book in 1948. Softly, gently, in the secret night, down from the north came the quiet white, drifting, sifting, silent flight, softly, gently, in the secret night. White snow, bright snow, smooth and deep, light snow, night snow, quiet as sleep, down, down, without a sound, down, down to the frozen ground, covering roads and hiding fences, sifting in cracks and filling up trenches, millions of snowflakes, tiny and light, softly, gently, in the secret night. The postman said it looked like snow. The farmer said it smelled like snow. The policeman said it felt like snow, and his wife said her big toe hurt, and that always meant snow. Even the rabbits knew it and scurried around in the dead leaves, while the children watched the low gray sky, waiting for the first snowflakes to fall. Then, just when no one was looking, it came. 1 flake, 2 flakes, 5, 8, 10, and suddenly the air was filled with soft, powdery snowflakes, whispering quietly as they sifted down. The postman put on his rubbers. The farmer went to the barn for a snow shovel. The policeman buttoned up his coat. His wife made sure she had cough mixture in the medicine cabinet. But the children laughed and danced, trying to catch the lacy snowflakes on their tongues, while the rabbits hid in their warm burrows under the ground. Faster and faster came the tiny snowflakes, and the brown earth turned white. Fields and stone walls, roads and gutters, lawns and sidewalks, all were buried underneath the soft white snow. It covered the roofs of houses and piled on top of chimneys. It filled the cold tree branches with great white blossoms, and when night came, icy cold snowflakes sparkled in the light of the street lamps. The postman slipped and fell into a snowbank. The policeman got his feet wet and had to soak them in a tub of hot water. His wife put a mustard plaster on his chest so he wouldn't catch cold. The rabbits stirred in their sleep deep in the warm burrows under the ground, under the snow. And the children dreamed of snow houses and snowmen as they slept in their snug beds under the rooftops, under the snow. Silently, the frost made pictures of ice ferns on the window panes. Then, without a sound, just when everybody was asleep, the snow stopped and bright stars filled the sky. In the morning, a clear blue sky was overhead and blue shadows hid in all the corners. Automobiles looked like big fat raisins buried in snowdrifts. Houses crouched together, their windows peeking out from under great white eyebrows. Even the church steeple wore a painted cap on its top. Look at all that snow. The postman put away his rubbers and took out his high boots. The farmer milked his cows in a barn filled with bright snow light. The policeman had a chill and stayed in bed. His wife sat in a rocker and knitted a long woolen scarf for him. The rabbits hopped about as best they could, making long, funny rabbit tracks in the soft snow. The children made a snowman, a snow house, a snow fort, and then had a snowball fight. The wind pushed light puffs of white from the branches, while the melting snow on rooftops drip, drip, dripped into long, shiny icicles. Each day the sun grew stronger and the snow melted. Big patches of soft, muddy ground showed through the snow in the fields. The sound of dripping, running water and the smell of wet brown earth filled the warm air. Now the branches were bare again, and gray pussy willows pushed out of their brown shells. Fence posts lost their dunce caps. The snowmen's arms dropped off, and running water gurgled in gutters and rain pipes. The postman slowly delivered his mail so he could enjoy the bright sunshine. The farmer let his cows out in the barnyard for the first time since winter began. The policeman's cold was better, and he swung his club in the air as he walked in the park. His wife dug around under the lilac bush, looking for snowdrops and crocuses that grew there, while the rabbits spent all of their time hopping about in the warm world above the ground. And the children watched for the first robin to tell them spring had really come. And that is the end of White Snow, Bright Snow. This is Mrs. Huffcutt with another Caldecott book. This one is from 2019, actually. It's called Hello, Lighthouse, and it was written and illustrated by Sophie Blackwell. Hello, Lighthouse. On the highest rock of a tiny island at the edge of the world stands a lighthouse. It is built to last forever, sending its light out to sea, guiding the ships on their way. From dusk to dawn, the lighthouse beams. Hello, 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 lighthouse. The new keeper arrives to replace the old to carry on tending the light. He polishes the lens and refills the oil and trims the burned end of the wick. Throughout the night, he winds the clockwork that keeps the lamp in motion. During the day, he gives the round rooms a fresh coat of sea green paint. He writes in the logbook and threads his needle and listens to the gathering wind. The wind takes a deep breath and blows and blows. Hello, hello, hello. The keeper boils water and drinks his tea as he fishes for cod from the window. He sets the table and hums a tune and wishes for someone to talk to. Every few days he writes her a letter and throws it into the waves. He tends the light and writes in the logbook and waits for her reply. The sky grows dark and the waves rise and crash. Hello, hello, hello. The keeper looks through his telescope. The tender arrives, bringing oil and flour and pork and beans, and his wife. He shows her around the round rooms of their house. He tends the light and writes in the logbook and sets the table for two. The fog makes everything disappear. A bell must be rung to warn the ships. Clang, clang, clang. One thick night, disaster strikes. A boat is wrecked on the rocks. Not a moment to lose, the keeper rows out. He pulls 3 sailors from the deep black sea. He tends the light and writes in the logbook and wraps the sailors in blankets. The sea turns into a carpet of ice. Hello, hello, hello. One dawn, the keeper begins to sneeze. By dusk, he is terribly ill. His wife is everywhere all at once, running up and down spiral stairs. She tends the light and feeds him broth and chips ice off the lantern room windows. She sits by his side and writes in the logbook the minute his fever breaks. The icebergs pass by on their journey south. The whales pass by on their journey north. Hello, hello, hello. Inside the lighthouse, the woman walks around and around the room. Her husband boils water and helps her breathe in and out. He tends the light and writes in the logbook and notes the birth of their child. The sky erupts in swirls of green. Hello, hello, hello. The tender arrives, bringing oil and flour and pork and beans and the mail. Along with fresh books and news from the land, there's an unexpected letter with the Coast Guard seal. The keeper winds the clockwork and polishes the lens just as he's always done. He tends the light and writes in the logbook, but knows that it's not for long. Together, they watch the horizon. The Coast Guard arrives with a brand new light and installs the machine to run it. No lamp to fill, no wick to trim. The keeper's work is done. He climbs to the top of the spiral stairs and closes the logbook for good. They pack their belongings into the boat and wave farewell to the gulls. Beyond the breakers, they all look up. Goodbye, Lighthouse. Goodbye. 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 On the highest rock of a tiny island at the edge of the world stands a lighthouse. It is built to last forever, sending its light out to sea. The fog rolls in and the fog rolls out. The waves rise and crash. The wind blows and blows. Hello, hello, hello. Over the waves, across the bay, a light on the land beams back. Hello, 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 lighthouse. And there they are. And that is the end of Hello, Lighthouse. I hope you enjoyed it.
Hi, this is Mrs. Huffcutt again, and I have another Caldecott book to share with you today. This one is entitled The House in the Night, and it was the Caldecott book in the year 2009. It was written by Susan Marie Swanson, and it was illustrated by Beth Cromes. Let's see what happens in The House in the Night.
Here's the key to the house. In the house burns a light. In that light rests a bed. On that bed waits a book. In that book flies a bird. In that bird breathes a song. All about the starry dark. Through the dark glows the moon. On the moon's face shines the sun. Sun in the moon, moon in the dark. Dark in the song, song in the bird. Bird in the book, book on the bed. Bed in the light. Light in the house. Here is the key to the house. The house in the night. A home full of light. And that is the end of The House in the Night. Thank you for listening.
Hi, this is Mrs. Huffcutt from the Morris and Mary Wiley Library, and I have another Caldecott book to share today. This one is entitled OxCart Man, and it was written by Donald Hall and illustrated by Barbara Cooney. This was the Caldecott winner in the year 1980. Let's see what happens. In October, he backed his oxen to his cart, and he and his family filled it up with everything they made or grew all year long that was left over. He packed a bag of wool he sheared from the sheep in April. He packed a shawl his wife wove on a loom from yarn spun at the spinning wheel from sheep sheared in April. He packed 5 pairs of mittens his daughter knit from yarn spun at the spinning wheel from sheep sheared in April. He packed candles the family made. He packed linen made from flax they grew. He packed shingles he split himself. He packed birch brooms his son carved with a borrowed kitchen knife. He packed potatoes they dug from their garden, but first he counted out potatoes enough to eat all winter and potatoes for seed next spring. He packed a barrel of apples, honey and honeycombs, turnips and cabbages, a wooden box of maple sugar from the maples they tapped in March, when they boiled and boiled and boiled the sap away. He packed a bag of goose feathers that his children collected from the barnyard geese. When his cart was full, he waved goodbye to his wife, his daughter, and his son, and he walked at his ox's head 10 days over hills, through valleys, by streams, past farms and villages. Until he came to Portsmouth and Portsmouth Market. He sold a bag of wool. He sold the shawl his wife made. He sold 5 pairs of mittens. He sold candles and shingles. He sold birch brooms. He sold potatoes. He sold apples. He sold honey and honeycombs, turnips and cabbages. He sold maple sugar. He sold a bag full of goose feathers. Then he sold the wooden box he carried the maple sugar in. Then he sold the barrel he carried the apples in. Then he sold the bag he carried the potatoes in. Then he sold the ox cart. Then he sold his ox and kissed him goodbye on his nose. Then he sold his ox's yoke and harness. With his pockets full of coins, he walked through Portsmouth Market. He bought an iron kettle to hang over the fire at home. And for his daughter, he bought an embroidery needle that came from a boat in the harbor that had sailed all the way from England. And for his son, he bought a barlow knife for carving birch brooms with. And for the whole family, he bought 2 pounds of wintergreen peppermint candies. Then he walked home with the needle and the knife and the wintergreen peppermint candies tucked into the kettle, and a stick over his shoulder stuck through the kettle's handle, and coins still in his pockets. Past farms and villages, over hills, through valleys, by streams, until he came to his farm, and his son, his daughter, and his wife were waiting for him. And his daughter took her needle and began stitching, and his son took his barlow knife and began whittling, and they cooked dinner in their new kettle, and afterward everyone ate a wintergreen peppermint candy, and that night the OxCart Man sat in front of his fire, stitching new harness for the young ox in the barn. And he carved a new yoke and sawed planks for a new cart and split shingles all winter. While his wife made flax into linen all winter, and his daughter embroidered linen all winter, and his son carved Indian brooms from birch all winter, and everybody made candles. And in March they tapped the sugar maple trees and boiled the sap down. And in April they sheared the sheep, spun yarn, and wove and knitted. In May they planted potatoes, turnips, and cabbages, while apple blossoms bloomed and fell, while bees woke up, starting to make new honey. And geese squawked in the barnyard, dropping feathers as soft as clouds. And that is The OxCart Man by Donald Hall.